Hello everyone, welcome back to Real Reds Talk, a new, fresh, modern, independent fan channel dedicated to Manchester United. On today's show, we're going to discuss Wout Weghorst, or as I like to call him, Wout Workhorse. It seems like his move is pretty much completed now. We're going to discuss how we think he'll settle in, which game he could potentially make his debut in, and what other players could benefit from playing with him. So very much focus on Weghorst on today's show. We're going to discuss Facundo Pellistri's cameo last night as well. Has that earned him a move on loan? Not a permanent one, obviously. Well, you can't do a permanent loan. It doesn't work like that. But basically, we're going to discuss the potential option for Pellistri to go on loan. Had a very good cameo last night, which I'm sure Shreyas is absolutely dying to get into. Just wait, hold it up. We'll get there. We'll get there. And we're going to take a look at a couple of outgoings as well, with young players being linked with loan moves, etc. But before we do that, I need to introduce him. Shreyas, how you doing? Nice to have you back on.
Yeah, doing fairly well. Absolutely heartbroken that I had to fall asleep last night and that I had to miss watching him live in those 10 minutes. But yes, I've watched that cameo almost 10 to 15 times already. And yeah, how are you doing, Nick?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Likewise, I've been watching a lot of the game back last night. We're in that winning momentum, aren't we now? It's just game after game. Whether that'll carry on Saturday, who knows? But yeah, we're not here to discuss the game on Saturday. We're here to discuss Weghorst and Pellistri specifically. But just a quick one. If you're enjoying the content at the minute, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel, support, get involved with the community. This channel's growing, man. It's getting better and better, and that's thank you to all you guys. So smash a like on the video, get involved in the comment section as we go through the topics on the table. We're going to start with Wout Workhorse. Suggestions that this deal's pretty much done. Besiktas very close to getting the replacement in Abu Bakar. These are all coming from very credible journalists. And it's interesting the timing of it, because I don't know if you noticed, Shreyas, yesterday in the game, Martial wasn't on the bench.
Yeah,
there's lots of rumours going around that he didn't train basically on Monday, so he's basically. But then Ten Hag was saying he's rested, so I'm praying, my fingers are crossed that Martial, Martial will be fit for the game. But if not, if Weghorst does come in tonight and it gets like all confirmed, officially announced on the website, all that kind of jazz. Do you think he could potentially make a debut on Saturday?
I think on Saturday, I think it will be tricky for him to actually, just come in and get the start on Saturday, because I think the moment he comes in, I think first off, he needs to be up to speed with Ten Hag's tactics. And other than that, he has to be integrated into the squad as well. And one sec.
Well, we all got. I think we had a bit of a
one sec. I'm back.
Network.
Yeah.
Always move.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I think I was saying that I think first off he needs to be up to speed with Ten Hag's tactics, and then he needs to be integrated into the squad as well. Except that, I think another big factor that definitely is going to be there will also be that the game against City is going to be a really big game. I don't think Ten Hag would be looking to, experiment that much with his, I would say, starting 11, the starting 11 that he considers to be his strongest 11. So going into it with that perspective, I think Martial would start that game. Of course, you can, probably you could see if Weghorst gets announced in time, maybe you can see an appearance of the bench. But I'm not too sure whether he'll be starting or he'll be, that involved in that game. I think mainly the players that we've seen up until now would be the ones who would be involved the most.
And I'm actually, for once, I know the deal that we've done with Weghorst. I know it's only a couple of million, and you've got the likes of Chelsea who are getting João Felix, Liverpool going to got Cody Gakpo, Arsenal looking at Mudryk. Every team around us is doing decent business, buying players for the long term. Weghorst is clearly that kind of striker who's a stopgap. But I'm just, for the first time in January, I know it's took us a few days to deal with it, but we're actually getting it over the line near the start of the window, rather than waiting until the end like we did with bloody Bruno Fernandes, like we've done with notoriously so many players we need to get him in immediately, because all I can see now for the next 1 or 2 months is someone getting an injury, like a Marcus Rashford. I hope it doesn't. I'm touching wood. I hope it doesn't happen. But I've just got this feeling that a couple of players are going to get big injuries, and they might be out for a little while. So Weghorst needs to get in ASAP, basically, and he can cover the games, because we've got City coming up on Saturday. I'm pretty sure we've got Crystal Palace in between the Arsenal game now, haven't we? We've got Crystal Palace on the Wednesday, I think, and then we've got Arsenal on the weekend, so it's going to be important. Just to double check, I can't see you on my screen. Are you on though? Are you?
Yeah.
Right, cool. Yeah. That's fine. That's all right. I can hear you. That's all that matters. Yeah. So yeah, what do you think about his personality then? Like him coming into the club, do you think he can deal with the lights under Old Trafford? We saw what happened with Dubravka, didn't we?
Yeah, I think, of course, for any player out there, I think playing under the lights of Old Trafford definitely brings along a completely different pressure. I think for some players it can definitely be overwhelming, like you mentioned, Dubravka. I don't think that loan deal worked out pretty well for him. I think, I think he had a couple of appearances for United, and most of them coming on the pre-season tour that happened after the World Cup, and he didn't really impress much. I think he was really shaky, and I just think he never really got the perfect opportunity, to actually show what he's all about. Because I think when he was signed on a loan deal from Newcastle, a lot of people expected him to be, be involved in the cup games, probably maybe in the Europa League as well. But we saw that David De Gea was starting in most of those games as well. So yeah, I think it was with Dubravka, definitely, I don't think he was able to cope up pretty well. And whenever he got the opportunity to actually start for Manchester United, he didn't look that comfortable. So I think after overall, it also comes down to the player's attitude. With certain players, you can see, like we saw with Bruno Fernandes, that the moment he signed and the moment he came in, the spark and the overall performance and the level that he brought to the club completely elevated us to it brought us to a completely different level. So yeah, you never know. Probably we can see something similar to Bruno happening as well, and I hope that it happens, because if we go into that direction, we could be, in a serious contention for top four, and probably be able to get some silverware this season as well.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. I do think our squad depth, though, is slightly lacking. I know we've got young, talented players, which again we're going to touch on: your Pellistris, Garnachos, all these guys. But in terms of experienced players, we are lacking a little bit top. Because you got Anthony, people forget he's only 21.
Yeah.
Garnacho is obviously very young. You've got Rashford and Martial, who are more kind of seasoned ones, but even they're not in the prime yet. So to have that experience up top, who's been around from different leagues, from the Premier League to the Bundesliga to the Turkish league, played quite a few games for Netherlands as well. I think that experience will be valuable, and what he brings different will be valuable as well. I'm just going to dive into a couple of the comments. We've got Bobby Rasher in the court. Big up Bobby. He's come over from TikTok. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Daniel Raj, let's go. Big up Dan. Joseph Jack, is the Weghorst deal completed? So it's basically one step away. All Besiktas needs to do is to find a replacement, and we think that the replacement is going to be Abu Bakar from El Nassr. And we've literally gone full circle. Ronaldo's gone to El Nassr. We're going to get Weghorst, and then Abu Bakar's going to go to Besiktas. Is what he's looking at. So yeah, that's the update so far. That's the most recent update. We're literally waiting for Romano. Here we go, done deal. That's the next step. So whether that'll be done tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, I'm not entirely sure. But just sticking with Weghorst at the minute, Shreyas.
Yeah.
What other players do you think will benefit from playing with him? Because he's a target man, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's I think right at the moment as well, if you see, a lot of our forwards, a lot of our attackers are actually getting decent number of opportunities to actually score in front of goal. I mean, you could argue that, we are not playing against competitive sides, but a few of them haven't really been, they lack that bite at the moment, that, you get that opportunity. Like Marcus Rashford is showing at the moment right now, that even if he's getting, a half opportunity to score a goal, he's going for the goal, and he's actually, creating something out of it. So I think the moment you put someone like Weghorst in, you can see the spaces being created on the flanks because the centre backs are gonna, come in for him because they know that he's gonna be a big physical presence around that box. It's gonna be tough for the. I think. How do I put this? I think it's gonna be tough for Weghorst to actually, be able to displace Martial in that lineup if Martial is able to stay fit. The only reason being because I think Ten Hag seems to favor Martial a bit more. We've seen that under Ronaldo as well. Whenever Martial was fit, Ronaldo was not considered as a starting striker option. But I hope that Weghorst is able to provide him with the perfect competition that we require at the moment because we've seen that the moment Martial gets injured, we practically got no one to actually take his place. And
Yeah.
I think with Weghorst, the biggest advantage is that he's, I would say, a bit different to what Martial actually brings to the table. I think Martial does bring that pace, link up play, and a little fluidity up top. But I think with Weghorst, the biggest thing that he brings to the table is, of course, there's his physical presence, but except that, his heading ability is actually really really well. And we've seen that we actually do well when we are actually putting crosses into the box, but at the moment we haven't actually got that sort of a person in that front three who can actually deliver off those crosses, who can actually go in for those headers, because uh, I don't think Martial has got that great of a heading ability. Rashford has got a few goal scoring off headers this season, but I think with Vegas, when you put those sort of crosses in, you would be much more comfortable seeing those sort of crosses being put in, and Vegas has got that ability to actually convert as well. So I think it's going to be interesting as to how things shape up. I hope that this Vegas signing is actually able to spark something in Martial as well, because right now we need all of our attackers to be actually firing off all cylinders, whether it's Martial, whether it's gonna be Weghorst, whether it's Anthony, whether it's Rashford. We need all of them to be performing at the best of their abilities.
100%. Dan's just put in the chat there. I would still go with Weghorst to start the games ahead of Martial. That is a big, big statement from Dan there. I'm not sure how quick he's going to settle in, but look, he might end up being the number 9, given how Anthony Martial's injuries are going. I reckon he's got a couple more in the locker. He's also said, remember the moment when Weghorst will be waiting in the penalty box for a cross from Anthony. Yeah, cheers for that, Dan. Thanks for reminding me. I'll keep my composure though. I'll be all right. Another one of our targets who we was linked with for this window, straight as a more spoken about target, was João Felix. I know you're obviously a massive fan of him. Probably devastated that he's gone Chelsea. How do you think he'll get on there?
I don't think it's genuinely a good move for him, because
you don't, or you do? Did you say?
I don't think. I think he should have probably, if he actually had to move to the Premier League and not come to Manchester United, I personally think he should have gone Arsenal. Yeah. I don't think that the situation that Chelsea are in right now and the kind of football that they're playing at the moment, I don't think that João Felix would be able to show what he's truly about. Because I mean, if you look at that Chelsea lineup and you see someone like João Felix coming in, I just simply compare him to Kai Havertz. I think Kai Havertz and João Felix, if you actually look into them, they are pretty similar in a lot of their qualities and what they actually do. Both of them, they're not out and out strikers. They are more like false nines, more like wingers. They have featured in those positions more. And yeah, I think that for João Felix, it's going to be difficult to break into that into that lineup in the first thing. That's going to be the first challenge for him, because Chelsea definitely are struggling at the moment. And once again, I think it's just a loan move. It's not a permanent deal. So I think for João Felix, it isn't a good deal in that sort of way, because I don't see Chelsea actually activating that clause for him to actually buy him at the end of his loan, because they still got Nkunku coming. They've already got Kai Havertz in there. They've got a really young striker in Armando Broja in there already as well. Sterling is there. Christian Pulisic is still there. So there are a lot
Just on that bit. Sorry to cut you in there, Shreyas, but So the loan is obviously 6 months in it.
Yeah,
There's a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
rumours that Diego Simeone is leaving
yeah.
Atletico
Atletico
Madrid.
Madrid.
So do
Yeah,
you think there could have been a case there where they said to Yao Felix, because he's not getting on with the coach, look, go play football in the Premier League, get some eyeballs on you. If there's a sale that comes out of it and you want to move and you're happy, that's fine. If you want to come back to Atletico Madrid once Simeone's gone, could be a new coach in there who plays, a proactive style of football. Then you can come
yeah,
in and be the main man, because he set I think the price tag as well they set was quite high when it was like 18, 90 million, something like that
yeah.
for him. So what do you think? I know it's not really United related, but it was a
Yeah, no,
United target
I
one I
think,
saw.
yeah, I think it could make sense, but I think one of the biggest reasons why this move happened in the first place is because Anthony actually, wanted to move away from La Liga. I think he came out pretty strongly that he wanted to leave Atletico Madrid
Yeah.
at the start of the season, that he didn't want to be at Atletico Madrid. He wanted to move to a different league, and that's why he was being linked to a lot of Premier League clubs, because that seemed to be I would say, a much more convenient and a better location for him to actually show what he's truly about. Because I do know that, I think he's definitely a very talented player. Um, and I think he can achieve great heights if he is in the, if he's in the correct system. And that's why I thought that, him moving to Arsenal would have been the best choice for him at the moment, because with Gabriel Jesus being out, I think for if he moved there, he would have been an out and out starter there. Uh, and with the kind of players that he would have been playing around, like Martin Odegaard, Martinelli,
Yeah.
Saka, it would have been a
Yeah.
very, very balanced and a very destructive front three
I
to
agree.
have. So, and right now with Chelsea, there's no stability in that lineup. This lineup
No.
keeps on changing. They have injury issues in there as well, and the manager is under tons of pressure. So, and a lot of people are going to be, looking at Yao Felix very closely now, because considering the situation that Chelsea are in, and if Yao Felix isn't able to perform in his first 2 to 3 games, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for him to cope up with the
Yeah.
pressure of the Premier League.
And like Dan just said there, if Felix is going to enter a training and he's gonna be like, where the fuck is everyone? Because I'm pretty sure they've got Mason
Yeah,
Mount,
yeah,
Sterling, Reece James, Chilwell, um, the new centre back from Leicester, Fofana. Like
Fofana.
they've got a lot of fucking injuries at that club.
Yeah,
So and then what happens when everyone comes back? Like it just seems a mess, an absolute mess at Chelsea at the minute. And it's weird watching it from afar because we're in such a good position at the
exactly.
minute as
I
United
think,
fans.
I think definitely if you see Manchester United right now and if you see Chelsea right now, they are both not in good conditions, but they are in completely opposite conditions, which are bad. Chelsea have got too many players at the moment, which, when they are fully healed and when they come back, they'll definitely be in a, problematic situation as to who to keep and who to actually let go. Similarly, with
Yeah.
Manchester United, the situation is we don't have enough squad depth. We haven't actually got the, enough quality players who can actually make space on the bench and be able to, provide the same tempo that the first 11 on the pitch is actually able to provide. Because we've been linked with how many, I would say, how many Chelsea players have we been linked with in this window? We were linked with Hakim Ziyech at the start of this season. Then
Yeah.
we were linked with Christian Pulisic on a loan deal as well. So the trend keeps going on and on with Chelsea right now. And when the next I would say, when the next season starts, they've got a lot of players coming in as well on, pre-contracts, like I mentioned Nkunku earlier. I think they're definitely going to be 2 to 3 more signings. You never know if they're going to go in for Enzo Hernandez again. So I think with Chelsea, it's going to be very, very problematic the next few transfer windows, because I think more than incomings, they're going to be focusing on outgoings. And yeah, I think I mean, you never know. I mean, that, if we end up signing Weghorst, if he gets announced before the City game, he end you know in his loan stint he ends up getting more goals and assists than Felix does for Chelsea. People can come out and just say that, we had the better deal. It was a blessing in disguise, probably, but it's still to be
Costs a lot
seen.
less as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, cost a lot less. And uh, I think Weghorst is the kind of deal where it is the perfect deal, because even if this deal, if it doesn't work out for Vegas and Manchester United, it wouldn't be an out and out loss, because it's not a permanent deal. We don't have the pressure of actually, offloading him at the end of the window and looking for prospective buyers. So I
Yeah.
think for us it makes it. I think it's a reasonable deal, and I think Ten Hag could actually, get the best out of him.
Absolutely. Big up everyone in the chat. 16 people currently. If you haven't subscribed to the channel,
Yeah.
please do. We're just discussing
We
Weghorst at the minute.
we are on
Um,
945 subscribers, so just 5 away from 950.
Yeah, 5 away from 950. So if you could push that subs up, we'd really appreciate that. And smash a like on the video. I want to bring it slightly back to Manchester United, Shreyas. We've been talking about a couple of silky, smooth players there, and your Ziyech's and your Yao Felix and all these guys. I want to stick with that theme, and I want to talk about Facundo Pellistri. Obviously, you're a massive. I was going to say you was a massive fan. You still are a massive fan of this wonderful talent we have in our hands. A couple of quotes from him on last night on his debut and from Ten Hag. I want to dive into them, and obviously I'll ask you a couple of questions about that. So he said, "I had the luck to be at Old Trafford in other squads, but unluckily I didn't enter the pitch to play. I look at the crowd, and all the time I thought, when will my moment arrive to play? And today was the day, and I enjoyed it a lot. I am very happy, and I want to help my teammates to achieve all the trophies that we have in mind, and to win every game we have, because this is an incredible club and very big." Ten Hag said he's come on, had an effect, so that's the next step. I say well done, better, and keep going. Laurie Whitwell reported before, Facundo Pellistri is an excellent trainer and presence at Carrington, but wants to play more frequently, is demanding he wants more game time. And Watford, this is from the Telegraph, are hoping to take Facundo Pellistri on loan for the rest of the season. But what I want to start off, we take it back a little bit. Why did you have so much confidence in his ability? Was it something you saw for Uruguay? Because you've always gone on about him, haven't you, for quite a while now?
I think the first time I saw Pellistri, I think it was when he just got signed. I think he played for the under-21s, and when he did come in alongside Ahmad in there as well, both of them actually looked really, really well. But when I saw him against, I think it was during the World Cup qualifiers, and Uruguay were actually struggling. They lost against Colombia. They lost a lot of games, and they were not in a very decent position to actually qualify for the World Cup. And then they had this game against Venezuela where they won 5-0. And that, I think, was the debut for Pellistri in that game. And what actually, I saw in that game, I think we see all these wingers at the moment. They've got this destructive pace, they've got good shooting ability, they've got good passing ability, they've got great vision. But with Pellistri, the thing is his balance on the ball, and the way he's able to move with the ball while making the change of pace. That's at such a young age. That's what appealed to me the most. And in yesterday's game as well, you saw that when he actually went to pass the ball alongside to Rashford after collecting it from Casemiro. Once again, a great pass from Casemiro there. He changed his pace twice while maintaining the balance on his ball. So at such a young age, I think that's a very, very decent quality to have, because like if you compare it to the other players we have in the club at the moment who play in that position, Anthony, he definitely is a crazy talent. He's got very, very good pace. He's got an insane left foot on him, and he could actually develop to be a very special player. Then you've got Anthony Elanga. Once again, he's got very, very good pace. He's got that athletic ability in him, but except that he doesn't offer that vision, he isn't able to offer that end product.
The composure
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
One player who does who's in a similar vein, I think, is the guy I'm a massive fan of as well. Ahmad. I think they both have very similar qualities in that respect.
And because I think the reason why they're actually quite similar, and the reason is uh, I think they're more complete when it comes to playing as wingers. Like if you compare it to Ilanga, I don't think he's a complete winger yet. I think he's still, like put your head down and start running on the flank. I think with Pellistri and with Ahmad, the thing is they're very complete because they've got good vision at such a young age. And except that while they're on the ball, they are much more technical than Elanga. And for in order to work in a Ten Hag system, you need to have that quality as a winger. And that is one of the biggest reasons why we saw Pellistri have that impact in just 10 minutes while he came on. and you can see Ahmad doing bits at Sunderland, and that is one of the biggest quality as to why Ahmad is having such a good season with Sunderland at the moment, because they're much more complete and they're much more technical. And I think with Pellistri, uh, another factor is Uruguay is actually a very decent team, especially when it comes to World Cup competitions and Copa Americas and those sort of competitions. And to see a player who hasn't been picked like even once before yesterday for his club, he was getting regular starts for Uruguay. Even I think he had a really decent World Cup as well for such a young player. I think he was able to make quite the impact at that World Cup, and he's been getting starts quite regularly for Uruguay. So, and I thought that if a player at such a young age is able to have that quality, if he gets developed, if he actually gets the training and he gets the right guidance, he can actually make a very very big impact on the big stage. And that's pretty
Mm.
much what we saw in the just the 10 minutes uh, against Charlton. And I think once again the question arises, why was Ilanga once again being picked so many times, numerous times ahead of him? Because he definitely did offer us something quite different to what Ilanga offers us off that right hand side.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it's clear to see his natural talent from what we've seen so far looks good, but I wanna be a little bit careful with that, just because I remember when Elanga kind of burst onto the scene
Yeah,
under
yeah,
Ragnick, and
yeah.
everyone was like, "Yeah, what a player we've got here," or whatever, blah blah blah, because he was the only kind of performing player at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
else was playing really
I
shit.
think with
But
all
the qualities you can see with Pellistri, I understand it. They are different. I get what you're saying.
I think with all the young wingers that we have at the moment, I think we are in a very good position for the first time in I
Yeah.
think 5 to 6 years, that you can say we got a really, really good era of, young talent coming through. You've got Ahmad, you've got Alejandro Garnacho definitely there, who's once again, he had a brilliant game last night as well.
Yeah.
You've got Pellistri in as well. And I think that's why one of the biggest questions that arises right now, especially with Ten Hag and how he wants to shape that squad, is does he go in for an extra winger next season? Considering you've still got Anthony, you've still got Jadon Sancho there, you've got Marcus Rashford, then you've got Alejandro Garnacho, and then you've got Ahmad coming back from loan. You've already got Pellistri there, and you've still
Mm.
got Anthony Elanga. Even though he doesn't get picked that many times, he's still there. So
Well, this sorry to think this is something I'm going to touch on in a second. I do want to ask you about that. I just want to get into the question
yeah,
that Dan threw out there. So it's a quick question: if you're asked to keep only two right wingers and sell the others, who would you keep out of Sancho, Anthony, Ahmad, Pellistri, and Ilanga? And that kind of ties in with what I was going to mention anyway. When you look at the young attacking talent that we have, Shreyas, Garnacho, Ahmad, Pellistri, that's a potential left winger, number 10, just because I believe
yeah.
Ahmad will end up playing there anyway because of the qualities that he has. And then obviously Pellistri on the right hand side for maybe the next 5 to 7 years. How do you see this attacking positions developing for the future? Because there's lots of options there, isn't there? Even though we
Yeah,
say we're light in the attack, it's mainly the striker position. In terms of
yeah,
wingers, we're
yeah,
all right, aren't we?
yeah. I think with wingers, definitely we're quite all right. And you can actually throw, like you mentioned, you've got the number 10 position sorted in there as well. You've got the left wing and the right wing in there as well. And yeah, I think that's why one of the biggest questions. I think I'm really happy to see that this era is finally coming back to Manchester United. And once again,
Yeah,
a lot of credit for that needs to go to Ten Hag. He's actually, taken active charge of the under 21s as well. He's pretty much seeing every single player who's going to be coming through the academy. And yeah, I think right now you never know. Probably in the next 2 to 3 seasons, you could see more talent coming out from a youth academy, which we might actually be considering and saying, that this guy actually deserves a start in the first team. We saw another debutant, Kobe Mainu, last night, and even though he wasn't, particularly like how Alejandro Garnacho had his debut, he had a pretty good game. He had a solid debut, I would say.
yeah,
And yeah, you've definitely got Ahmad coming through. You've got Pellistri coming through, and I think it's a very good position to be in, especially with the young players. When you've got such talent at your hands, uh, you can actually craft them to be really, really special players. And I think Ten Hag is once again the best manager to have. if you want to do that job at your club. And yeah, I think like you mentioned, I think it's only the striker position that we are actually lacking and in this moment of time. Because except that, with the wingers, we are pretty sorted. We've got really decent, options in the wings right now. And I think if Ten Hag is able to, pick the players smartly, we could be in a very decent position by the time the next season kicks in. Because then we'll, be in a very smart position and say we just need to invest in these areas. Because if
Yeah.
just imagine if we are in a situation where Ahmad is ready to actually play in the first team, Pellistri is ready to play in the first team, Jadon Sancho is back to his best, and
Mm,
then you can just say that we just need to invest in one midfielder, one striker, one right back, and probably just one defender.
yeah. There's a comment here from Albie in the chat. Pick up Albie. I'm not sure if you knew or if you were already a subscriber, and he's asking about Weghorst and the situation. So essentially, United have a verbal agreement with the player. Weghorst is happy to become. He's been happy to come for a couple of weeks for about a week now since the window opened. United have agreed a fee with Burnley or Besiktas, whoever it is, for the loan. I think Besiktas get a bit of compensation and Burnley get a bit of money as well. But he's literally just waiting on a replacement now, which is nearly done. So it'll get announced either tonight or tomorrow. The Weghorst thing. So yeah, it'll definitely come to Old Trafford. I won't worry too much about that. Sticking with the youngsters, I thought I'd ask you a question, Trey, just to get your brain sparking a little bit. Now, obviously, I know you're a millennial, aren't you? Because obviously you was born after the 2000s. So
No, I'm a Gen
you
Z.
might not. A Gen Z, sorry, not a millennial. Apologies. The opposite way around. You're a Gen Z. But I was going to ask you if you could name a five-a-side team of young players that we've produced at the club. Just sticking with the youth theme, because we've been speaking about, your Garnachos, Pellistris, Amads. And you can even throw any of them in if you want, or you can throw a couple of the old ones in. Completely up to you. But a five-a-side team, people in the comment section as well, put your five-a-side team in of young kids that we have developed at Manchester United who've come up through the academy and played professionally in the first team. Give me a five-a-side.
I think for the keeping situation, definitely you know my answer. Uh, but I mean, if you have to call it through the academy,
Yeah, you don't have to have a goalkeeper from the academy. You can just have five players, because I know we haven't had many standout goalkeepers
yeah,
from the academy. So it's not like one of them. Obviously, your David De Gea's, Van der Sars, and Peter Schmeichels were all bought. So
yeah.
yeah, it can just be any five standout players that you want. I've got a list there, so if you want me to
I think
name a
Beckham
couple of them
definitely
off.
is going to be in that team.
Yeah.
I think David Beckham has got to be in there. Uh, for the keeper position, definitely have David De Gea. Uh,
What about Paul Scholes? Paul Scholes
Paul
thrown in
Scholes
there.
definitely has to be in there. In a five-a-side team, Paul Scholes definitely needs to be in that
Yeah,
team. Uh,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and if any Liverpool fan is watching this, yes, Paul Scholes has to be in every
Oh
five-a-side
god.
team that is ever going to be made.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
What about a couple of niche shouts? I saw a couple of things before. Paul Pogba was
No,
obviously came
no,
for the
no,
academy. No, we're not having Paul Pogba in
no Paul
there.
Pogba, no Jesse Lingard.
We've got a few of the really like late generations, like George Best, Bobby Charlton. Do you want to throw any of them in there? Maybe a George Best to throw in.
Yeah, I think George Best needs to be in there. Of course, I haven't seen any of his football, but
I've watched clips of him, and in his time, obviously football was a lot different back then.
yeah,
But he was the first kind of archetype. All these players that we're talking about, like Pellistri, you tricky wingers,
yeah,
he was like the first
yeah,
archetype of that player. So if we'll have Scholes, Beckham, Best,
Best.
they're the first three.
Yeah.
Giggs, Ryan Giggs.
Right. I mean, honestly, how it's pretty difficult actually to leave out someone like Ryan
Yeah,
Giggs as well, because
yeah.
he's been there for so long and he definitely was a quality player to have. Ah,
Dan's put De Gea, Vidic, Scholes, Rashford, Giggs. We're going off academy
yeah,
players only. So De Gea and Vidic can't get in there. You can have Scholes, Rashford, and Giggs. But so far, what we're going with? Giggs, Beckham, Scholes, George Best, and then we've got one more. So we could have Gary Neville, Marcus Rashford, Danny Welbeck, Jesse Lingard, Darren Fletcher. Yeah, any one of them. Take your last pick from them, and we'll move on.
Yeah, I think out of the options that you've given, probably I'll just say Marcus Rashford.
We'll give it
Considering,
Rasher.
yeah, I think someone from the current era definitely needs to be in there as well.
Yeah,
So
from the
yeah,
Gen Z.
yeah, from our era as well. So you've
Yeah,
got Marcus Rashford fighting for from the present era, and then you've got definitely got Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, David Beckham, and George Best in there.
it's not a bad five-a-side team at all,
Yeah,
is it? Absolutely. Again, we're sticking with the young players, the prospects, because the next kind of topic that we're going on to is the loan watch. So Zidane Iqbal and Charlie McNeil, both 19 years of
yeah,
age, could also leave the club on loan this month, Trey, as they seek competitive playing time for the rest of the season. That's coming from Man United MEN. Talks of Ilanga maybe going to Everton on loan as well. Where do you think we should send these talents? And are you a fan of any of them in particular?
I think Ilanga definitely needs a loan deal. I think he should
Yeah,
have been gone on loan at the start of the season itself, but I do get why he didn't go out on loan because we didn't have the squad depth at the start of the season to actually make up for it. So I think yes, I think a loan deal at Everton for him could work out, but personally, I would want him to actually go to the championship. I think that's where Ilanga would definitely be able to develop much more. I think, and in the Premier League, once again, he'll be coming up against the same opponents that he's been coming up. And probably, I think the championship would be a much better environment for him to grow in. And then I think Zidane Iqbal, I think he's once again a serious talent to actually look into. We saw very good glimpses of him during preseason, and I think yeah, once again like Elanga, if he gets a loan deal in the championship, he could develop to be a very good player. Similar to what how Jimmy Garner got his loan deal at Nottingham Forest. Probably he gets a loan deal to a similar club in the championship, gets game time, and then I think probably as fans we'll be actually able to see what position is actually the best suited position for Zidane Iqbal, because during preseason you can actually say that he can function much better as a number 10, the way he was playing in that squad. So I think definitely Zidane Iqbal, for me I think Zidane Iqbal definitely is one of the players who needs to go out on loan, because if he is able to develop well, we are pretty much sorted in that central midfield area for the next 5 to 6 years.
yeah. Well, like you just mentioned yourself there, James Garner had a very good
Yeah.
loan at Nottingham Forest. Hannibal Mabry at Birmingham. Amad Diallo's killing it at Sunderland at the minute. Why do you think the Championship in particular is a good environment for young players to kind of glow up? Do you know what I mean? Because we've had quite a few good successful loan spells there.
Yeah. I think in the championship you do play a lot more games. You come up against different opponents, and at the same time I think it's if you have to compare it to what happens in the Premier League, I think the players are much more composed, because when they do go out on loan, they don't carry that pressure of walking out wearing that Manchester United jersey. And for I think for any loanee out there, when they go out on loan, I think they do want to succeed at that club, because they know that if they are able to perform well when they do go back to their parent club, they are going to get a good opportunity. And I think they play with much more freedom and much more flexibility, especially when they go to the championship. And that's what we've been seeing with players like Hannibal Mabry. We've seen that with Ahmad as well, that when he did get the opportunity at Manchester United, you could see that he was thinking a lot at times. In this You could say the same for actually not with Hannibal Mabry. I think he was quite direct in his approach when he used to play. But yeah, I think when these players do go out on loan, they are much more flexible, and they play with much more freedom, and that's why they are able to elevate their game a lot more. And that's what we saw with Jimmy Garner when he went to Nottingham Forest as well. He had a ridiculous season for a CDM at Nottingham Forest, one of the biggest reasons why they got promoted as well. So yeah, I hope that the players that are going to be going out on loan in this window, and the players that are already out during the summer window. I think I hope they have good loan deals, and by the time they come back, probably they can contest to actually be starters in our starting 11, because we are actually crying out loud for some squad depth.
Well, they've certainly got the right coach for it, haven't they? And Eric
Yeah.
Ten Hag, he's the man to do it. Someone's just tweeted, Simon Stone's tweeted 1-0. Obviously, a couple of games have kicked off tonight in the Carabao Cup. So Man City are playing Southampton away, and Wolves are hosting Nottingham Forest, I believe. But I think Forest might have scored in that one. Obviously, we have the draw live as well, so make sure you keep an eye on our socials for that. I may even go live for it, depending on the time of the draw. So yeah, keep an eye out for that, and we'll find out who we get in the semi-final tonight. There's one more comment there from Ariane Bueja. It says Garnacho shows if you're good enough, you're old enough. Players that are serious talent shouldn't be sent on loans. Iqbal should be kept, and he can learn from Casemiro. That's the debate that's kind of out there at the minute, Shrez, is do they get more from training with the first team, or do they get more from actual getting game time in the Championship on a consistent basis? That's the debate in it. What's your belief on that quickly before we wrap the show up?
I think personally for me, I think a talent like Alejandro Garnacho comes rarely, to be very honest with you. I think at
Yeah.
such a young age, the way he's performing, it's actually mind blowing, and we definitely got a really great talent at our hands, and hopefully he can show it to the Manchester United fan base for years to come. But I think rather than training with the first team, I think the if they do get loan deals, especially to the Championship, I think they do develop better, because you can see it with Pellistri right now. You can see it with Ahmad right now. They were training with the first team for years, and now that they've gotten opportunities, especially Ahmad, now that he's gotten his opportunity at Sunderland, you can actually see that he's
Yeah.
got that ability in him to actually make a case next season to be a starter. That's what we said about Jimmy Garner as well, and I think right now, especially when Alejandro Garnacho came through, I think
Did you say Jimmy Nana then?
Ghana.
Oh, right. I thought you said Jimmy Nana. I was like, that sounds like a fucking epic name. That.
Yeah, and I think
Jimmy
the
Nana.
the moment actually Garnacho came in, I think there was an opportunity for him to actually come in to actually be a starter. But I think with Zidane Iqbal, it's going to be very difficult for him to actually cut into that midfield right now, because I don't see Bruno Fernandes being dropped. I don't see Casemiro getting dropped anytime soon. The way he's performing, I think by far one of the best players on form in the Premier League right now.
Sorry, I can't stop thinking about Jimmy Nana. That's such a good name, man. I'm trying to keep my composure, but I just keep thinking it's like going round on like a conveyor belt in my head. Just Jimmy Nana, Jimmy Nana, Jimmy Nana. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Sorry
And
to
I
cut
think
you in there.
except that we've got Casemiro, we've got Fred, we've got McTominay, we've got Eriksen in there as well. So I think right now the midfield is pretty much stacked, and I think for Zidane Iqbal to actually cut in, uh, Ten Hag would definitely have to make some big calls. And right now, the position we are in, I don't think that Ten Hag would like to, mess with the midfield a lot, because we've seen how much we end up hurting the moment our midfield gets, tweaked about a lot. We've seen when McTominay's come in for Casemiro, what happens. We've seen what happens when Fred comes in for Eriksen. Of course, there have been times that it has worked out, but Fred is not that consistent to actually, hold that sort of form for long spells of time. And yeah, I think Garnacho is definitely a very very good talent. And I think right now he's high in the pecking order. He's higher than Jadon Sancho at the moment. I think even if Jadon Sancho comes back to the squad, I think it's going to take some work for him to actually shift Garnacho from that pecking order, because Garnacho, whenever he's been given the opportunity to play, he's been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, he's come out of nowhere, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Proper flying out the gate. And wingers like Anthony, just because of the price tag, and Sancho because of his price tag, they shouldn't get comfortable, because
Exactly.
we've got talented players at the club, which could definitely push into their position. And yeah, in good times at the minute, it feels very positive. I'm looking forward to the future under Eric Ten Hag. I'm looking forward to see the young players developing at the club, because I think he's the perfect manager to nurture talent. I really do. We've seen what he's done with the likes of players who people had written off, like Sebastian Haller and obviously the young players that have come through at Ajax, he's nurtured as well. That famous team with De Jong, Donne, Zia, all these kind of guys. So super interesting time. That actually concludes the show for today, guys. So thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate the continued support and the growing support, because the numbers are getting bigger and better. If you want to follow us on social media for regular updates and clips from the show, all the handles are at the bottom of the graphic, or just head to the link in the video description. Thank you for coming on, Shreyas. Really appreciate your time, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hopefully we're able to end this week on a high as well.
Yeah, well, so far it's Weghorst on a Wednesday, so we're not doing too bad at the minute. I think it'll officially get announced tomorrow. And yeah, subscribe to the channel, guys. Let's push for 1,000 subs together. Let's try to do that by the end of January. Again, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your questions, your constant interactions, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Peace.